Hello, everybody! Welcome to another Sunday Funday, and yes, the gorgeous Megan is here. And yes, I told y'all we were going to have a different setup soon. We're waiting on furniture, is what we've been waiting on. So, hey, we're here with a love seat instead.
Mm-hmm. Lining love seat.
Yes. And we are here to talk about a movie we were meaning to watch a few weeks ago. Just one of those, time kept getting away from us. Told y'all we've been in the process, still trying to move. There's still stuff I need to get. But hey, we're here to actually talk about The Old God.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
Which I have to admit, the movie never really explained why the fuck it's called The Old Guard. The biggest thing is technically spoilers and also kind of explain the plot of the movie. Charlize Theron leads a group of immortal warriors. Now, that is long and short of the entire film.
From different points in history, different regions of the world, and they've even had a couple others. One who actually died because they don't live for after so long. Apparently, they stop healing like Wolverine.
Yeah.
And it's like they will just die from their wounds.
Mind you, that is never explained why. It's just...
Or how they're even immortal or anything.
Yeah.
Or why they're able to dream of each other when one of them, whenever, a new one of them gets killed.
Yeah. And on top of that, there's issues I'll straight up say with the beginning, idea here. Not that this is a bad idea. I do admit it is based on a graphic novel. I read the graphic novel. Don't give a shit, honestly. But the biggest issue with the idea, I think, is the fact that it's not super fleshed out. Not that I need to have a lot of explanations. I'm willing to accept stuff like Highlander, where they're immortals. But the whole idea of Highlander, though, was that there was to be only one. That was the entire catchphrase. There could be only one. And so it's like, alright, well, that's how this is. Hell, even Highlander 2, for all its faults, or I'll at least say the Renegade version, the actual cut that makes fucking sense of the film.
So, they're aliens.
Where it's like, eh. But with that one, it at least kind of explained there has to be other immortals, and that's how they can kind of keep their immortality. Otherwise, they begin to slowly die just through natural death things. Yeah. Though I am surprised, though, they did not have the Highlander staple of where anytime he mentions, I'm immortal, the lady's panties just get wet and fly off. Weirdest shit ever in Highlander. Never got it. I'm immortal, I can't really have kids. Well, stick it in me, big boy. Was always the next line. I was like, this is a weird turn this just took.
Actually, he was able to have a couple kids.
What, in Highlander? Mm-hmm. No, he wasn't able to have any kids. He has no kids in Highlander.
I guess Warren, he had a family in Scotland.
He was part of the MacLeod family. The obviously French dude. Christopher Lambert.
Mm-hmm. Scotsman.
Yeah. Well, ironically, we had a British guy playing a Spaniard.
I was an actual Scotsman playing a Spaniard.
That's like one was like, I think you'll miss how you're casting this.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Sean Connery's inappropriateness in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Those remarks okay, only Sean Connery, even at 100 years old, can get away with saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
And actually make it almost kind of sexy and charming.
Though, I think we are showing just how this movie is. We are talking about Highlander and Highlander 2 a lot more in this movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted potential.
Yeah, because if I can give the movie some props, and now I shows you something bad here, start positive first. The action sequences are good for the most part. they're fairly competently shot. There's not a lot of too much quick edits. Some near the end, it get a little quick editing. Nowhere near Resident Evil Final Chapter, where I can't even tell you what happens in the goddamn movie.
It's like seizure test.
Yeah, god damn. It's like Paul W.S. Anderson lost his fucking mind and just decided to go, I'm going to have a cut every 5 seconds in this damn thing. But instead, here, there's competent action, there's competent fighting. The writing is so bafflingly lame, is the best way to put it. Like, it begins with them pretty much being outed by this one guy who they supposedly were trusting. It's weird because they made it seem like they knew him.
Yeah, it's like this guy in the CIA, played by the one dude from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, plays Baron Mondo or Mudo.
Yeah, he's like the dude with a really unpronounceable name.
I will look it up while you fap for me. Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's a way. Yeah, a way to figure out how to pronounce it. It just.
I am sorry, dude. I can't pronounce it. I'm a dumb person.
We're ignorant Americans.
Mm-hmm. Especially.
Oh, we eat it.
Mm-hmm.
But. Yeah, so they're given an assignment by the CIA dude to rescue these schoolgirls. Only they get there and it's actually an ambush and they get killed. Only they
They come back to life.
Yeah, like their body like pushes the bullets out and heals the wounds, and they get back up and kill people who killed them, and like, oh, we were set up, and there's cameras in the room actually, and
yeah, and they make a big deal that it's like, oh, we don't need, nobody should see us, they shouldn't be found. I get, but it seems weird at times. Like, here's the thing. Again, to compare this to Highlander, which is the closest I guess I can kind of compare this to. Mm-hmm. McLeod never was really one just kind of in the shadows. He lived a lower profile life. Not like one where it's like, oh, I erase pictures of if anybody sees me.
Yeah, you're like in the background of some, people's selfie.
Yeah. Instead, he's just like, he still tries to do good by people. He still tries to live an honorable life. And, he just tries not to be one who takes a lot of pictures, especially since people are going to get asked questions. Hey, why aren't you aging?
Yeah, for some reason they let their picture be captured during the Civil War.
Yeah, like they're posing for a picture, including Charlize
Theron.
It's like,
I know you have kind of a boyish, like, manly, like, kind of haircut, Charlize Theron, but
you don't look like a man.
I would say you can't really pass for a man.
Yeah.
And they didn't allow women in the Army, except maybe as nurses.
Yeah, and she's very clearly in a soldier's outfit.
Yes. And it's like, I get that they're all warriors, but it's like, okay, how y'all gonna explain that one? It's like, I know they fought like many wars throughout many centuries, especially her, because she's the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and I will say one of the things I would have actually cared for more, I actually would have liked to seen a little bit of the backstory for these characters more. I do like the fact that they kind of go into this one backstory for one character. I can't remember how her name is pronounced. Kieran?
is it Quinn?
Yeah, Quinn, I think is how they pronounce it. Yeah, she is, obviously she's from China, actually, and she and Charlize Theron fought the Huns. Or, I guess Mongols would be the best way to put it. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the Mongol Empire. So don't get all...
Genghis Khan.
Yeah. Genghis Khan who fucked everything that
wasn't nailed down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this rock has a hole. But yeah. So... they did stuff like that, and there's supposedly they got captured in England because they were trying to free these witches.
Yeah, like during the Salem witch trials and.
Oh no! Not during the Salem witch trials. During the witch hunt, as they call it, which was in England. Remember, it was very clearly, they said England. It wasn't even near, like in America, in Salem. It was, I guess, in the 1500s. I think they were trying to make a connection between that and the burning of Protestants that Bloody Mary was doing. I don't know. Sometimes this movie really makes the history buff in me kind of go a little fucking nuts. Because it's like, that's not how any of that worked. But I'm willing to let you bend the little rules here. But I would have liked to see that. Like, there's also two characters. One is called Joe, correct?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
There's Joe,
Yeah.
Nikki, and Booker.
Yeah. Joe, he is played by Jafar, who he's a lot more subdued in this.
Yes.
And a lot more watchable. And Nikki, who they were actually both in the Crusades and they killed each other.
Yeah, because they were enemies, but then they eventually became lovers.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, that's kind of sweet.
But it's like too much time is spent harping on the fact that these two are lovers.
Yeah, it's
like to me them like sharing moments, little romantic moments, like, oh, remember when we visited Malta's one time? And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it begins to get a little.
It adds nothing to the story.
Yeah, because it's just a repetition of I love you too. Next thing, I love you, I love you too.
Yeah, it's like, yes, we have established that these two are in love, that they're lovers, possibly soulmates, whatever. It's like, can we move on? Can we move the plot forward and maybe focus on some of the other characters?
Yeah, because there's one character who gets criminally under, and he gets like no actual moving forward, and that is Booker. He shows like he talks at one point that he had a family, but he saw them all die.
Yeah, like he had 3 kids, and one, like the youngest one died at the age of 42 of like cancer back in the 1800s.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so that's all there is to him, and then all of a sudden, spoiler, turns out he's kind of working with this guy Copley, who's
The
working
CIA
with
agent.
Yeah, who's working with another guy who's trying to get their tissue and all
trying
that.
to capture them and study them and figure out how to give immortality to everybody else.
Yeah, or at least increase lifespans of our people.
Yeah,
and,
played by Dudley from Harry Potter.
Yeah, and sure, that's at least some kind of a plot point. That's a reason to be, kind of hidden all that. But
It's a bit cliche, but
yeah, and that's the thing. You've seen it. You've been there, done that. It's been in Wolverine movies and Wolverine comics. Hell, this is the Wolverine, just not as interesting.
yeah, because one thing humanity can be counted upon is that someone has powers or immortality or anything that makes them special, we want to take it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can't just let it be.
Yeah, but the big reveal is that Booker is technically, he set them up to be captured because he wants to rid himself of his immortality so he can die.
Yeah, because he figures that if they can figure out how immortality works, then maybe they can figure out pretty much how to turn it off.
Yeah. And it's not really given much in the way of like, it's not very well telegraphed. Which some people are like, oh, well, that's a good thing because you don't see it coming. But in the same instance, it feels contradictory because we saw nothing that showed that he was against this life short of maybe that one throwaway little talk he had.
I mean, the only hint is the fact that the guys working for Dudley from Harry Potter, they burst in and like smoke and everything, and they take Joe and Nikki but leave Booker and they kill him, even though they know it's like he's just gonna recover from his wounds and come back to life.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's kind of a tip off. It's like, yeah, he's in on it, otherwise they would have taken him too.
Yeah. And also, it just doesn't add anything, because by the time the reveal happens, like, oh, he is the bad guy, 10 minutes later, he's joined back up with them.
And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and
they're really forgiving. Like, the biggest thing they do is they...
yeah, thanks to the new immortal, Niall.
Yeah.
Stupid name, Niall Freeman.
She's just in denial about it all. But hey, if she ever went to Egypt, she'd be Nile in denial. This is what she wants to marry, folks.
I was like, the fuck am I gonna do with you?
Love me.
I would start singing the cardigans, but
Oh,
might take us down.
but yeah, so to talk about the new immortal, she is an American Marine, and she gets killed in Afghanistan because they probably were like, ah, well, we can't use Iraq now, technically. Well, fuck, let's go with the good old one of she was in Afghanistan. But of course, she pops back up, and immediately people act kind of weird that know her because they're like, oh, I saw you die. And,
Yeah, one of her friends was like, okay, well, it's a good thing. It's kind of a miracle that she's with us now. And the other girl's like kind of freaked out. Like, well, I saw her die, actually.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she doesn't even have like a scar from where this guy cut her.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Army, well, actually Marines, they decide, it's like, oh, we're going to send you back to Germany for testing. It's like...
Pretty much study her.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I get it. You're going with that kind of thing. And this is when Charlize Theron, her character...
Come with me if you want to live, essentially.
Her name is Andy. Or at least that's what everybody calls her because they don't want to keep pronouncing her full name.
Yeah, Andromachy of Scythia. Or the Scythian, something like that.
Yeah, from Scythia, pretty much.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
all right.
she's ancient.
Yeah, and if you haven't realized, we haven't really talked much about Charlize Theron. It's not that she's bad. She's a badass in this. She actually has some decent kind of, like, moral conundrums here and there because she is, like, oh, I'm immortal, but...
And it's Charlize Theron, like, she's, good acting job.
But yeah, but she's really kind of been torn about the fact because she seems to feel like she's kind of lost her way. This is the best way to put it. It's all resolved super easy, and it's all doesn't really add up to much by the end of the film. And in fact, by the end of everything, that is how you feel about the movie. None of this really adds up to anything. Like, they eventually defeat the bad guy, big shocker, and they use the weapon that he totally took off them.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. They end up beating him pretty handily because he's a sniveling little twerp. The supposed guy who's fighting against him, there was nothing special about him. That would have been something unique. Like, for longest, I was actually thinking, it's like, because they make a big deal about Quinn, is that how it's pronounced? The Chinese lady?
Yeah, it's like either Quinn or Queen or something like that.
I think it's pronounced Quinn.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I was thinking, oh, well, it's going to turn out she's like the head of this guy's security, and she's kind of giving them some stuff that they can use, but they need these others because maybe her healing factor is slowing down, like they keep hinting with Charlize Theron's character. Which leads...
I think because she was starting to kind of give up on life, and so her body's like, well, it's like, if you need us to kind of take you out here, it's like, we're with you. Gotta let us know the plan.
Yeah, and
then suddenly she gets her purpose again, and it doesn't seem to be an issue anymore.
yeah, and it's just like all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, we'll just keep doing what we were doing, except for Booker's now exiled for 100 years.
Yeah, and then
it's a sequel bait.
I was like, we'll meet you back here for 100 years, and then he...
In 100 years, not 400 years.
In 100 years. I said that.
But yeah,
and it ends with him coming home and finding Quinn just in there drinking water.
And just...
Which kind of like she drowned over and over again.
Yeah, and it's not interesting. That's the big and long short of the film. It's like, there's supposed to be some kind of, I guess, moral conundrum here and there that some of the characters have. Nikki and Joe...
Or maybe some kind of commentary on humanity? Or something?
Yeah, like Nikki and Joe are just there. They just kind of exist. And
Booker, except for him betraying them, is almost the same way.
He is not even really a character in this. He's just pretty much a plot device that moves the story forward. Yeah. The biggest one who technically has character development is Niall, but her character development flies in the face of actually how things are supposed to be. Like we told you, she's a Marine. She's obviously been seen some combat for a little bit.
And she kills the guy that kills her, and she's feeling guilt over it, and like, well, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah, she can't be the warrior with them because she's not sure she can kill. It's like,
why did you join the fucking Marines then?
yeah, it's like, okay, that's like joining up with the fucking Navy because you like riding on boats. It's a stupid reason.
It's like buying a 747 because you like the complimentary peanuts.
Yeah, there's easier ways to get this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, the writing in this movie, it's really bad. If it's not being cliched, it's kind of just...
It's all over the damn place.
Mm-hmm.
And just, the focus is too much on these characters and I guess making us care about them and this moral conundrum / human commentary, whatever the movie is trying to say.
Well, I think even less about trying to actually give the characters characterization. It's just like, here are these characters, watch them have to deal with life, but we really never get that because we constantly have to show the bad guy's motivations. We could just have that as one thing and then just let that be. It has to keep kind of referring back to him at different times, and it doesn't add anything.
And the bad guys are barely in there, like especially the scientist, Merrick.
Yep.
It's like he's barely in there, and when he is, like, he's like this one-dimensional, yeah, I'm gonna make so much money off of...
Twirly mustache, but he's not even like a good twirly mustache. Like how Hugo Weaving can always make an entertaining fucking villain.
Just chewing that scene, just...
Or Jason Isaacs.
Yes.
The Dick Dastardly aside, but to be fair, this is voice only.
Yeah, he makes such a big deal that he wants to help humanity, but in the end, it's all about the profits.
Yeah.
For him, and trying to make sure that his competitors don't get their hands on these immortals and unlock the key to immortality before he does.
And it's like, what? You have seen that kind of a plot thread, or you haven't seen that kind of a plot thread, more specifically dealing with just immortality, but you've seen it done with other things. And it's never interesting. It also really doesn't make a lot of sense by the end of it all. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's kind of what kills the movie, is the fact that, one, this is not meant to be 2 hours long. Yeah. Like, there's padding at points where, like, the repetition of Nikki and Joe loving each other. Like, it would be one thing if they were kind of talking about, like, the times when they came across other immortals, and or maybe when they first met Charlize Theron, you know, showed less them being fighters, but them being family. Because it's kind of what it wants to touch on, but it never goes in it. It feels so half-assed that it's like, they're like, well, maybe they're... Nah, not really. And that's one of the things the movie seems to constantly miss.
Or we have to be beat over the head with Niall's moral conundrum of, I don't think I can go on killing because it's like, I don't feel right about it.
Killing bad guys.
First of all, why did you join the military? And second of all, it's like, if y'all wanted a reason for her to be kind of hesitant about joining up with these people, it's like, maybe instead go with something a bit more understandable, like, okay, well, I just met y'all, and y'all are already wanting me to jump in and join y'all like some kind of family. It's like, I don't know y'all.
Yeah, like, that would be a much more natural kind of reaction, you know, if they're very, you know, they're less of just like a unit, but they're like this family that kind of has just been fighting together throughout wars for centuries.
Yeah, like the one wanted me to join your army. It's like, well, why should I? Oh, because we're a family.
Yeah.
It's like
that would have been so much stronger of a message. That would have gotten through things so much better.
Because in the end, all they have is each other.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes through with the fact that I think Quinn should have been the final bad of this. Like, instead, it's this special forces dude who we have seen all of once in the movie, and he has 3 lines. The big reveal of him is that he has a grenade launcher at one point. But if they had, let it be Quinn and let them be constantly like hitting her, and maybe they have figured out, some of the ways on how to remove immortality, because she's learned her own way of how to deteriorate it, and maybe she also has figured out a way to lengthen it. Because then, one, you give also Andy the possible conundrum, well, should she try and join up with them to get this, to bring back her immortality, or to finally go? You actually give Andy a real dilemma there. And only
And
that...
like, does she get her normal life back, or does she continue with her immortality and join up with their cause and join their, little, tight-knit family?
Yeah, and not only that, but you could then have the push for, especially considering they make a deal that they kind of dream together and stuff like that. Though it's only whenever a new immortal is born. It would be
pretty much when they die the first time.
Yeah, it would be much more interesting if they had dreams like together whenever they're sleeping and they all share dreams. That would again enforce the idea of the family unit, that these aren't just warriors together. This is a family going together.
Like, yeah, maybe also sharing memories.
Yeah.
Because I think Niall was at one point dreaming about someone else's memory. Like,
she was dreaming about Quinn's death.
Yeah, she was dreaming about, I think, sort of in a way, Andy's memories, in a way. In fact, like her guilt and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that could have been touched upon, especially for a new immortal, to kind of share their memories. I was like, okay, then.
Yeah. And it also would have been a nice way for her to say, it's like, I'm not prepared to keep just sharing with myself. Maybe set up Niall to be a bit of a, maybe she's a little bit, closed in, and this is having to make her open up to people. Maybe she's not got a super good connection with the family, though she wants, it's like, oh, what about my family, blah, blah, blah.
It's like, well, it's going to be years before they realize that I'm not aging, so I have a few more years with them. It's like, do you really think you can go back to your family and act like everything's hunky-dory and normal?
Mm-hmm. Of course, so here's the one thing that they didn't touch on. So Booker was able to have kids. So obviously, the males are able to. What about the females? Are they able to have kids?
That's what I was kind of wondering myself last night. Like, okay, it's like, I wonder, since at least the males can reproduce, like, the females, it's like, can they produce, or are they sterile? Like, can they make, like, more immortals? Like, if they were to mate with each other. Like, say, Booker and Andy, or, Booker and Niall or something.
Yeah. No, it's never really explained. It's something that they could have went into. Like
That's something they could have explored, because thing with female reproduction, like, we're only born with so many eggs, and we're just be able to make babies, but it's like, well, add that over hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's like, does that mean, like, Andy's already, like, run out of her eggs? She can't reproduce? She's pretty much sterile?
Also makes me wonder, do they have periods still? I mean, mind you, we're worried about small-time kind of shit.
I was like, has she already gone through menopause, like, ages ago?
Yeah.
Or something? Like, or does she just, as soon as she dies the first time and is reborn as an immortal, is that when she stops having periods altogether, or... Like, what the fuck? I need to know these things. Like, I was so curious.
But honestly, I think the problem with, the fact that we have all these questions, and also we can pretty much rewrite some of this. I get, they're like, oh, we're sticking true to the graphic novel. That doesn't make it any more interesting. Because there are some times where we can improve on some, especially if you look back on...
Captain America Civil War.
Mm-hmm. But you can look on some of these graphic novels and realize, like, maybe that was a little bit more generic. And honestly, that is like the best thing you can say about this movie. It's really generic. It borderlines on actually being, like, guessable. It's like, oh, this is going to happen. Well, this is going to happen. Well, this is not going to happen.
It's like,
yay.
Oh, watch, gonna turn out this person is in on it, or this person's in.
Yeah. And it's just... You just don't have any kind of interesting characters to latch onto, which hurts it.
Yeah, it's like, it got out to a strong start, but then the rest of it was like actually kind of a struggle to stay awake last night.
Mm-hmm. It's
He dozed off for a second, didn't even miss anything really.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching Superman Returns again. Cannot believe
like-
I fell asleep in the first 30 minutes of that movie and did not miss a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I was like, I think all you missed was like Nikki and Joe having a moment.
I love you, dude. I love you too, dude.
I was like, okay, or no, I think what you missed was Booker talking about him having kids back in the 1800s.
But still, even then, it wasn't anything. It's like, okay, so I missed like 2 scenes. Also, here's another thing I guess. It's like the acting in this movie, none of it's bad except for Merrick. He's really not good.
Very like, hey.
But he's too sniveling. Like, he is totally an underling. He's not a, mastermind here. He's the underling. Where's the true bad guy? Give me the real bad guy. Cool, don't have one. Or
Yeah, it'd be much more interesting if like Copley was actually behind it. He was forcing Merrick to study these immortals and.
yeah, because like Merrick, if he turned out to be the one that was kind of like obsessed with like how they've been doing stuff and all that, kind of flip the roles. Still have Copley, be the one who is the CIA agent.
Yeah, that would have made so much more sense.
Mm-hmm. Or at least for each person's capabilities, because we have seen. Sorry, that guy. I can't pronounce his last name or his first name at all. We have seen him be a villain. He's a damn good villain. He is intimidating. He can be really scene chewing heavy, but he is always on point. Like, he's good in this movie.
And you have to be very subtle, whether being a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, like I said, he's good. He does really good. He's given nothing to fucking do.
Yeah.
It's such a disappointing movie. Ugh. So, what would you give The Old Guard as a final, total review and score?
That is a very good question. I mean, it's not quite, a stinker, full on 1, but I don't know. I'm kind of like going back and forth between like a 2 or a 3.
Kind of waffling between things.
Are you making some kind of pun?
I'm just, using the word waffling.
That's the word that you have to use today.
Well, pancaking the word is not a good one.
Oh, whatever am I to do with you?
Love me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 2.
I'm not as low on it there, but I'm not that far off. I give it a 3.
And I was like, I want to give it a 3. I want so much 2, but I can't like justify to myself. It's like, because all the bad stuff, all the negative that we're talking about is like, well, they could have done this differently, or they could have like cut this out, because like so much fat need to be trimmed, and so many things that need to change up, as far as characters, as far as story. It's just.
Well, I think they have the basis of the characters all right. I think the writing is what hurts them too much. Like, if this had been mostly about, showing them being recruited by Andy, and then, then we finally get the last bit, which is where they're trying to do some other thing, I wouldn't have loved this, I don't think. I think that still would have been a little too long in a tooth, but it would have been something.
And I kind of wish we had, like, flashbacks when we're kind of learning their backstory more. Kind of like, hate to use Twilight as an example, but
the backstories they gave in Eclipse were actually really fucking interesting. But
yeah, I was like, it's nice to see flashbacks to go along with the backstory.
Yeah.
Usually like the Civil War vampires. It's like, I want to see that movie.
It's like, where's my Civil War vampire movie? Thankfully, I did eventually get it, an Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I just really fucking dug that movie. People were like, this movie's dumb. It's like, and? It's Abraham Lincoln fighting vampires. There's nothing wrong here. Or,
yeah, moviegoers need to realize, like, there's dumb, and then there's fun kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It's like dumb, but still enjoyable.
Yeah, like, I fully will admit, like, watching a giant robot punch a giant monster in the face, there's nothing about that that's not stupid. But there's nothing about it that's not fun unless you make Pacific Rim Uprising. Because that was plenty of things. Fun was not one of them. There was a lot of dumb instead. But another movie I was thinking of that this could have took some inspiration from, and it seems weird to talk about, the beginning of Wolverine Origins, or X-Men Origins Wolverine, where they show Sabretooth and Wolverine going through different eras, fighting.
Yeah, they could have done that, like, different...
Like, that would have actually been kind of cool. I would have liked to have seen them kind of improving their fighting styles. Maybe they're changing up how they fought. Like,
of course, they haven't fighting the Civil War still. It's like, okay, y'all still got to explain how Charlize Theron, a woman, is fighting in the Civil War.
Yeah, sorry, Charlize Theron is very feminine. It's like she very much looks like a gorgeous woman, like she is.
Charlize Theron, you are badass, but you cannot pass for male.
Nope, sorry.
You're a very attractive woman too. I say that's a straight woman.
Yeah, not. This is my nitpick. I would say that also helps justify my 3 in my mind. I almost would have preferred if they all had like slightly different ways on how they fought. They just seemed like special forces. It would have been neat if, like, the 2 guys from the Crusades, they fought, very hand to hand. They were all, swords and, like, maybe one guy who was pretty much like a what's the word? He was like a dervish, He really spun around a lot, and he was a lot of footwork, a lot of kicks, then stabs. And then it would have been neat if Charlize Theron, her stuff was much more like, pretty much very like this, like, let's say, maybe if you want to think about it, like old ancient warfare ways and how she would fight. Maybe she would use shields and she would help wear down her enemy before just destroying him. And then the guy who died, Booker, when he died from Napoleon, it would have been nice if he was their sniper. He was their range guy. Something like that. Because obviously he's used to ranged warfare. He learned from Napoleon. Anything like that. Instead, they're so one note, they're kind of flow into each other. It's like, there's very little
Only one stands out is Charlize Theron, even then, because she's a chick.
Yeah, she's the leader and she's the woman.
And also, she kind of is emotionally distant to an extent from the others, just because she's just racked with guilt over Quinn and
this other guy who's pretty much, he's in a flashback for that long.
Yeah, I think it's like even like a dream sequence or something. It's like, Locken or Loken. Like, they barely give him a name.
Yeah, it's like, that's the thing. I'm like, I think he's named. I can't remember. I was thinking.
I was like, I guess he's one of them?
Yeah. It's all best I can give this. There is some potential. I will give it that much. This has potential. But.
Yeah, I wish that one thing they would have explored more is the fact that anyone who's immortal, like, they tend to be warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been something. Like, maybe build upon the fact that this is a warrior who has truly been soaked in the bloodshed of, or, they have truly taken more upon themselves. Maybe hint at the fact that maybe it's connected to ancient Greece. If you want to have it connected to Athena and Ares.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. Anything. Give us a connection. Give us something to latch onto.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't need to know the full ins and outs of how this whole thing works, but they were so insistent on world building. It's like, okay, I kind of want to know. It's like, okay, is it supernatural? Is it scientific? Like, is it in the DNA? Or is it supernatural, like, maybe once in a generation or every other generation, someone, like, some warrior of pure heart will come along and be blessed with immortality? Or something, and fate will then connect all these immortals together that they dream about each other, and they're all kind of just like family or something. Like, it's like I kind of need to know more about it. It's like they keep like teasing it, and it's like, okay, y'all, it's like y'all are just like really just stretching this out, trying to world build and character build. But it's like, okay, you're not really giving me much building on the world and how the immortality works.
They laid a foundation without actually building a house.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're just teasing me with like an appetizer. It's like, I want the full goddamn meal, damn it.
it's not even really like an appetizer. It's almost like an amuse-bouche, you know? Just this little, like, bite of something. It's like, ooh, it's really delicious, but there's nothing else to it.
Yeah, it's almost not even an appetizer. It's like the drinks that you can get while you're munching on the meal, but they don't even give me my meal. They don't give me what I ordered.
It's like just getting the bread.
There you go.
But yeah, that's our opinions on the Old Guard. Let us know below what you thought of it. If you liked it, cool. Let us know what you liked about it. Like I said, the action's good. Just after a while, it just felt so non-consequential and just unimportant to the entire plot.
Yeah, so disappointed.
Yeah, but hey, that's our opinions, and we'll get back with y'all later. Might have something a little bit in store for me personally. But hey, we'll see y'all later. So until then, bye-bye, everybody.